Today's story is all about the frog Tsarevna, and this one comes from Russia, of course. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard stories of frog princesses or frog princes and things like that. It's something that's quite traditional within fairy stories, at least. Um, the roots of this one may go back even further than traditional fairy stories, though it's hard to tell. Um, Stories and myths, they tend to get told and retold and then remixed and retold again and all this kind of stuff. Um, hmm. Oh, it looks like a spear, says Sharon. Yes. Um, uh, Freya says meep. Bizarre. Um, so, yeah, she's not holding a spear. She's holding something. Well, I suppose it looks like a spear to her because she's so small. She's just an itty bitty frog. Um, but really, it's an arrow. And it's all to do with a long time ago in Russia. There lived a Tsar. So a Tsar is the name for the emperor or king or whatever. And then you've got Tsarina, which is the queen, and then you've got Tsarevna, which is a princess. There you are. So we can tell that this frog is quite royal and quite wonderful. But she's not related to the Tsar, at least not the Tsar at the start of our story. Um, the Tsar, who is the star, Tsar star, he has three sons, no daughters, no frogs. And he decides that his three sons should get married. So he sends his three sons and he gives them a basic challenge, a way to find a wife. Good morning, Kai. Um, what he does is he tells them to take their bows and arrows and to shoot an arrow. And wherever it lands, the nearest woman, I guess, is the one that they must marry. Ooh. Um, I'm not really sure why he decided this was a good idea, but he did. Rowan says, What? What? Why is he doing that? Well, I suppose it's just easier than going out and finding a wife, isn't it? Just shoot an arrow. Good question, Grace. What if he kills her? Yes, I think at this point then we need to bring in the idea that something mystical is going to happen. Maybe these arrows are fated only to fall where true love lies, or something like that. I don't know. Thankfully, son number one, the eldest one, he shoots his bow, woo, and an arrow plumps down in a nearby village, right outside the doorstep of a young merchant and his beautiful daughter. And so our first son can go and marry that woman. Hooray! Lucky woman being chosen by the arrow. Our second son, he shoots in the opposite direction, and his lands right on the doorstep of a castle, and in there's a beautiful princess who he can marry. Hooray! Our third son, the youngest son, his name is Ivan. Ivan shoots his arrow, and it lands in a swamp. And he goes a-looking for it, and sure enough, he finds that arrow, and it is in the arms of a frog. Dum dum dum! Oh no, Ivan now needs to marry a frog. It's a sad way to start a story. Well, not so much that Ivan has to marry the frog, but the frog has to marry Ivan. I mean, the frog was just chilling out in a swamp, and now she's got to go and marry some kind of prince? Sure, sounds like a lot of effort to me. But there you are. Ivan, he finds his arrow. The frog Tsarevna is holding the arrow, and he says, "Oh no, I've got to marry you, a frog." And the frog says, "Oh no, I've got to marry you, a prince." And Ivan takes the frog to his dad and says, "Dad, do I really have to marry this frog? I mean, it's a frog." And the dad says, I mean, he is the Tsar after all, the king of all. He says, "Da, you must marry the frog. The arrow has chosen. The frog is your proper wife." Poor old Ivan has to marry a frog. Poor old frog has to marry Ivan. But hilarity will ensue, I'm sure, because the three sons, they go and they get married. And as you can imagine, the wedding of the first son is pretty cool. The wedding of the second son is pretty cool. The wedding of the third son is a bit weird because he's marrying a frog. I mean, it's not normal. So, the three get married. And it's not long after that the Tsar calls his 3 sons to the palace. He says, I have come up with another crazy scheme. I don't know why he's into crazy schemes, but he is. I would like a loaf of bread. Make me loaf of bread. Each of your wives must give me lovely bread in the morning. So the 3 sons, they leave the palace with this mission. Their wives have to make the Tsar a loaf of bread each. Okay, it's not so hard, thinks the first son. He goes home, tells his wife, can you make some bread, please? She says, sure. She makes some bread. Done. Same with the second son. Third son, he can't do that. He goes home, there's a frog. Oh, frogs can't bake. Everyone knows this. So he says to his wife, his froggy wife, he says, oh no, I'm never going to be able to take some bread to my father. Oh, he's going to think that you are a failure and that I am a failure and everyone's a failure. But the frog, she looks at him and she says, oh yes, oh yeah, F15 asks, can she speak? Oh, she can definitely speak, yes. I mean, froggish, I guess. But Ivan can understand well enough. So the frog says, don't worry, Ivan. You go to sleep. Things will look better in the morning. You just go have a nice sleep. I'll sort out the bread. So Ivan, not really believing the frog, I mean, she's a frog, he goes to sleep. And it's at that moment that the frog takes off her frog skin. Dun, dun, dun. And underneath the frog skin, she is a beautiful Tsarevna. Now her name, Vasilisa Premudraya, I think is how you say it. I don't know, something like that. We'll call her Vas. Now Vas, she takes off her frog skin and she's just this absolutely wonderful princess underneath. But obviously she hasn't wanted to show Ivan that for some reason. But she's not just a princess. She's also an amazing baker, and because she comes from a royal household herself, she has a lot of servants. So she goes into the bedroom, she checks that Ivan's fast asleep. Yeah, definitely asleep. Maybe she gives him a little poke. Yeah, he's asleep. And then she runs outside into the nighttime and she shouts out to her servants, 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 come here. Make me a loaf of bread. Make me the best loaf of bread that the world has ever seen. And so her servants, they shuffle in. I'm not sure where they were. I don't know how they heard her. Maybe that's magic too. But they shuffle into the house and they spend all night baking and they end up with the best loaf of bread ever. I mean, this one that I've got in the picture here is just an example of what bread looks like. But I want you to imagine this bread. The bread that Vas and her servants make is absolutely huge. It's got like cutouts on it. It's got models of horses and carriages. It's got a small bread castle with small bread turrets with a little bread flag on it. It's got a little handle that you turn around and a little bread monkey jumps about. I mean, it's an amazing loaf of bread. Yeah, I don't know what a bread monkey is. Whatever. And Heidi, yes, this bread does look lovely. Yes, it's true. Um, um, Freya says maybe the servants were in frog skins too. I suppose they could have been. Maybe everyone's a frog and we just don't know it. That's philosophy for you. So, an artistic loaf of bread. That's right, yes. So, this amazing loaf of bread is there on the table when Ivan wakes up the next morning. And yes, the frog was right. Things did feel better in the morning than in the evening, because in the evening he had no bread and a useless frog as a wife, and now, well, he looks at the frog. She's still a frog. She's put her skin back on, obviously. But he's got this amazing loaf of bread. Some kind of bread sculpture is what he's got. And so he pops it into a carriage and he drives it off to the castle and the Tsar. He looks at the bread that the first wife made, the wife of the first son, and it's a really nice loaf of bread, you know. She's even got swirls on it. The second wife, really nice loaf of bread, kind of did something fruity with it, you know, put some seeds and some fruit in it. It's quite cool. But the third loaf of bread, Ivan's loaf of bread, Vass's loaf of bread, is like some kind of modern art version of bread, and he wins the prize Oh yeah. I don't know what the prize is specifically. Before you ask, he just wins the "You've got the best bread making wife" prize. It's a thing. Yeah. Um, so, uh, off Ivan goes, happy as you can be. You know, he's won the bread prize. Yes, F-15 Eagle says the prize is a swamp. That would be a good prize for a frog, wouldn't it? But no, I think it's just the respect of the Tsar they're playing for here, really. So he goes home, everything's fine. You know, I like to think that during this period, he and the frog Tsarevna are having these wonderful conversations and getting to know each other and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we're not told in the story, but I imagine that's what's going on. Um, but about a week later, Ivan is called back to the castle because the Tsar has another contest. He wants to know which of the three wives, here we go, which of the three wives can make the best piece of cloth, a carpet. Oh yeah. Now, Ivan, he despairs. The first son, he goes home, says to his wife, "Can you make me a carpet by tomorrow?" She says, "Oh, that's a lot of work, but okay." And the second one, same thing. She agrees to make the carpet. You know, it's going to be a hard night of carpet making because they need to be done by the morning, but, you know, at least they're human and they have hands and things. Ivan goes home to his little froggy and says, "Oh no, the Tsar wants a carpet by tomorrow. Oh, he said that my wife has got to make it, but you'll understand, won't you, Froggy, that you're a frog. I've never known a frog make a carpet before." And he gets quite down in the dumps about it. Mm. I suppose that's the way of looking at it, F-15 Eagle. Yes, he's got a pet frog, which is nice. Yeah, it's nice to have a pet frog. Mm. Um, Galaxy Kit says maybe whoever wins these competitions will be the next Tsar. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Yes. Um, maybe. So he's down in the dumps, is Ivan. And his frog wife, she looks at him with her big froggy eyes. And she says, "Don't worry, Ivan. Look, things will feel better in the morning. Don't stress yourself out. I'll see what I can do." He's not quite believing because she's a frog after all, but, well, she did come up with that amazing bread sculpture, so maybe she could do something. And so Ivan, he goes to bed. He goes fast asleep. And that is when Vasilissa, she takes off her frog skin and she runs outside of the house and she shouts to her servants, "Servants, servants, come on. We've got some weaving to do. We've got a full-on carpet to make by the morning. Come, come, come." And from out of the bushes and the hedgerows and maybe, I don't know, under rocks, come her servants. They enter into the house and they start to produce the most beautiful carpet you have ever seen. Now, Eliza says that she has frogs in her pond. That's very cool. Do any of those frogs have skills with either high-class artisanal bakery or carpet weaving? If they do, you might want to hire them. They sound like useful creatures. Mm. Now, um, uh, unfortunately, no, says Eliza. Oh well, maybe you could test them later. So the servants and Vass herself, they work very, very hard. They are getting all of the material that they need. They're making these beautiful patterns. They're adding jewels, little jangly bits, little shiny bits. And by the morning, when Vass is ready, probably quite tired, but ready to put her frog skin back on, there is the most amazing carpet you've ever seen, just there on the table. And when Ivan wakes up, he comes back to the house. Well, he comes into the kitchen or wherever they've been doing this, I guess, and he sees his froggy wife. She's probably asleep by this point. I imagine she's fast asleep, being all froggy. And he sees the amazing carpet, and he bundles it up. He puts it into a carriage, and he gets it taken off to the home of the Tsar. Now, yes, somebody's already said this is like Hans my Hedgehog. There are definite links, as we'll see as we go through the story. But of course, the most obvious link is that we have a human who has and can come in and out of the skin of an animal. Seems to be a very common theme in a lot of European folk tales, well, and folk tales around the world, in fact. But yes, there are big differences between the Hans My Hedgehog story, but some similarities too. So the first husband, he steps forward and he bows low in front of the Tsar, and he gives him the carpet, and it is a wonderful carpet the first son has bought from the first son's wife, of course. It's got a nice edging, it's got a nice pattern, the colours are good, but it looks like it's been made in a night, to be honest, which it has, because that's the competition, I guess. Fingersnail asks, are her servants frogs or humans? Well, they are human servants, but I don't know where they appear from, because as we'll hear later in the story, Tsarevna, she comes from a long way away. So I'm not sure. I like to think that maybe they're just hiding in bushes all the time. Or maybe, like someone said earlier, maybe they are frogs and they turn into humans every day. I don't know. Why does he bow why does he bow down low in front of his father? Well, because he's very respectful, and the Tsar is the Tsar, even if you are the prince. Yes. The second son comes, bows down low in front of his father, and gives him the second carpet, which is, it's very nice. It's really quite cool. There's a giant picture of a shark in the middle of it, because sharks are cool. Everyone knows this, and it turns out that the second son's wife very much likes sharks. So we've got a shark-themed carpet there. Whoa, that's a lot of messages. Oh, has the Tsar got a cat? Yes, he's got a cat in our picture here. There is the cat, Eleanor. Yeah, very cute little animal. So the Tsar is happy with the carpet. It's a good carpet. He likes sharks too. Everyone likes sharks. But then step forward Ivan with the third carpet, the most beautiful carpet that anyone has ever seen. And this carpet is, covered in jewels and gems and edging, and it's wonderful. And the Tsar says, wow, this is definitely the best carpet we have. You are the winner, Ivan, once again. And so Ivan goes home really happy. He's won 2 of the competitions, and he's starting to think that his frog wife is pretty amazing. I mean, she seems to be more effective in both baking and carpet making than she is at than the other wives are. So it's pretty good. Freya, I cannot see any emails. So we're then going to competition number 3, and this one's going to be the hardest. These things often come in 3, don't they, in stories? So about a week later, now Vasilissa in the chat here says that Ivan's brothers are going to get angry, I believe. Yes, it must be pretty galling, mustn't it? I mean, they're working hard, these brothers and their wives. It's not easy to make a loaf of bread, or an impressive loaf of bread, in a night, and it's not easy to make a carpet in a night. But both of these women are doing it. I mean, in a way, the frog is cheating because she's bringing in a team of top-class servants. So I don't know. Grace loves the cat of the Tsar. Yes, it is quite a nice cat. It looks rather fluffy in this picture. Yes, unfortunately, there's not much of a cat sort of subplot here. We're just going to have to accept that the cat is there, and then, I don't know, maybe you can give him a name, Grace. I'm not sure. So, Fingersnail points out that it might be the other wives that get annoyed. Yeah, I'd get pretty annoyed if I kept trying really hard and making some cool produce overnight, and then I was beaten by a frog every time. I would be a bit upset. There you are. There you are. The cat's name can be either Jeff or Sky. Maybe Sky Jeff. There you are. So, unfortunately, the next competition is not to make anything. The next competition that the Tsar sends about a week later is that he wants to meet the wives themselves. And he wants to make sure that the wives are wearing beautiful dresses and look like proper princesses. Now, very nice, Freya. Son number one, he goes home. He tells his wife, "Wife, we are off to the castle. We have to go to the Tsar. He is going to judge who has the most amazing wife." And she's feeling pretty confident. I mean, she was probably feeling confident about the bread and the carpet, but with this one, she knows she's going to win because, well, the competition is a frog. So she's bound to be more pleasant and wonderful than a frog, you would have thought. Most humans are, you would hope. I mean, depending on the frog and the human, of course. The second son, he goes home to his wife. "Wife, we must go to the palace. My father wants to meet you properly. Wear a big dress. Everything's going to be great. Your competition is a frog." And Ivan goes home to his froggy wife and he says, "Oh, this is terrible. Oh, there's nothing we can do about this one. The Tsar, he wants to see you, wife. He wants to judge which wife is most spectacular. And you're a frog. Flippity flobbity green ribbity ribbity frog. What am I going to do?" I mean, it's quite the pickle. But our frog Tsarevna, she is not going to be stopped. She doesn't care. She tells Ivan, "Go to bed. Things will seem better in the morning than they did in the evening. Just go and have a rest. I'll sort everything out. I'll think of something." So Ivan, he goes to bed. Um, Grace has got a lot of friends and cats and toys called Sky. Sky seems to be a popular cat name. Hmm. Fingersnail says, "Why doesn't she just take her skin off?" Well, maybe she feels like she shouldn't have to dress up to impress the Tsar. Maybe she feels that she should be accepted for who she is, a frog, you know? Shouldn't have to just dress up as a human just to impress some old Tsar with a funny looking cat. I mean, who does that Tsar think he is, telling people to do all that? Freya, I'm not going to share it, sorry. So, the Tsar, he's there. He sets up a big party. He is ready for, a great big ball. He's not just invited the wives. He wants to test these women out properly. He doesn't just want to see them. He wants to know, how are they going to do at a formal ball? Which of these wives would be best as the future Tsarina of Russia, or at least this area of Russia? So, he wants to put them through their paces. He's probably going to ask them some questions. He's probably going to see how they react to like servants and dancing and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's quite a big deal. And the first son, he gets in his carriage with his beautiful wife and off they go. The second son, he does the same. Ivan, though, um, instead, he goes and he's feeling quite depressed. Really depressed, because he hasn't got a beautiful wife to take to the ball. It's just this frog. But as he's getting ready to leave the house, he's getting all dressed up, all formally. He says, "Look, I'm going to have to go on my own. I'm just going to have to say you're ill or something. I mean, I cannot take an actual, genuine frog to a proper formal meeting at the castle. It's not going to happen." But the frog says, "Don't worry, I've got this. You go on your own, that's fine. But when you hear the sound of thunder, when you hear a great rumbling and a commotion, tell the other people at the ball. Tell them, here comes my little froggy in her little basket." Weird. So Ivan, he's got to a point where he quite trusts his frog wife, and he goes off on his own. And he gets there, and son number one is with his beautiful wife, and son number two is with his beautiful wife, and they both kind of laugh and poke fun at Ivan. "Oh, where's your frog? Didn't you bring your frog with you, Ivan? Ha, you're married to a frog." I mean, it's cruel, really, but these are the things we must expect, I suppose, if you're going to end up married to a frog. Some people would be a bit weird to you. This is true. Now, the frog then, she's at home. She takes off her frog skin. She calls to her servants, who this time they come and they get her dressed up. They give her a nice hat and a nice dress, and they do her hair and makeup or whatever, I don't know. They bring forward a golden carriage, think Cinderella. They get 4 white horses to pull the carriage, and they put our Tsarevna in there, and off she goes in the carriage, bumpity bumpity bump, all the way up the road. Now, to the people in the hall, in the party who are, or the ball, I should call it, shouldn't I? For those people in there, they're having loads of fun. They're talking, they're having nice, polite conversations. Maybe there's a little bit of light dancing going on. I don't know. It's a formal occasion. But then all of a sudden, the whole place starts to shake. I mean, huge, like thundering rumbles. And at first, Ivan is shocked. What's that noise? What's that noise? But then he remembers, I must do what my wife told me to do. And he says, here comes my little froggy in her little basket. Weird. Yes, like an earthquake, F-15 Eagle. Yes, quite. And sure enough, the loud noise that has been made is none other than Vas herself, riding forward in this carriage pulled by 4 huge horses, their feet stomping on the ground, making this great big rumble. And the carriage pulls up right next to all the people in the bowl, and out comes our frog princess, our frog Tsarevna, wearing a beautiful dress. And I like this picture here because she's got like a frog crown on. I quite like that idea. Look, she's like got a little nod to her froggy nature. And so she comes in. Everyone is astonished by how beautiful and wonderful this princess is. Isn't this the best wife ever? Is this place on a tectonic plate boundary? No, Jasper, it's not. Although you would have thought from the rumbling that it did seem like it. It's just that apparently a magic horse, maybe they make a big noise, a lot of rumbling. I don't know. So our princess, she is a quite the celebrity at the ball. Everyone seems to like her. Everything seems to be going fine. Oh, she's a fairy. Maybe well, we'll see what she is really in a minute. But everyone seems to like her. Everyone thinks that she's beautiful. Everyone loves her dress. Kit is saying, does it get more fun than this? Does it get more fun than just a princess? It does, Kit. It's going to get super weird. Don't worry. And so the ball goes on very nicely. Ivan feels very happy and confident because it seems like everyone thinks he has the best wife. And this is only made all the more clear when everyone is sat down towards the end of the evening. They're all eating their big posh 12-course meal or whatever you do in a Russian castle. And oh, hang on, my video's going weird. And our frog Tsarevna, she's not a frog anymore, but she's there at the table, and quite quietly and almost sneakily, she takes her glass of wine and she pours it into one of her sleeves, one of the sleeves of her dress. Now, the other 2 wives, they see this, they watch her doing it because they've got a beady eye on her to see if she's up to anything. And so they think that's a bit weird. Why is she filling her sleeve with wine? Then our frog princess, she takes a load of swan bones. They've been eating swan at the party, as you do. I mean, all good parties have swan. And she shoves a load of swan bones up the other one, up the other sleeve. And the other princesses, they're thinking, oh, she's up to something. And sure enough, the frog princess, she stands up from the table and she walks out into the middle of the dance floor and she flourishes a one arm like this. And out of it shoots the wine that she had poured up there. And as it hits the floor, it turns into a beautiful frozen lake right there in the middle of the dance floor. And then she shoots out her other arm, a bit like Spider-Man. And out comes the swan bones. And as they clatter down onto the floor, they turn into real dancing swans. And then she proceeds to do the most beautiful, amazing dance on this icy lake in the middle of the dance floor, surrounded by beautiful dancing swans. I mean, it's pretty cool, isn't it? It's a nice thing to do. Um, Now, the other wives, they have seen this, and they do not want to be like stood up. So they take some wine and they pour it in one sleeve. Then they take some bones and they put them in the other sleeve. And then, one after another, they step out onto the new ice dance floor and they go whooshum with one sleeve and whooshum with the other sleeve. Unfortunately, the wine from one sleeve is just wine, and it splatters all over a load of guests. And the bones are just bones. They don't turn into anything magical. They fly through the air and they stick themselves in the guest too. In fact, one of them ends up right in the beard of the Tsar himself. Dum dum dum. The Tsar is so angry at these disrespectful women throwing wine and bones around the place that he sends them home. And of course, our frog Tsarevna has won this particular leg of the competition. It looks like we have the next Tsar and Tsarina already picked, Ivan and his beautiful froggy wife. But of course, that would be, like Kit is saying, a fairly boring place to end our story. Yes, we have a princess. Yes, we have a happily ever after. But she's still a frog. Is there anything that Ivan can do about this? Now, Ivan is very much in love with his wife, and it seems that his wife is very much in love with him. I mean, I could see why he would be in love with her, because she's like a champion baker and weaver and dancer and everything, and can do magic things with swans. I'm not so sure why she's impressed with him. All he's done so far is been asleep, really. But you know, they love each other very much. And one day, the frog Zarina, she takes off her skin when she thinks that Ivan is asleep, to go and talk to her servants or whatever. Now, up to this point, the only time that Ivan has seen, oh, there must be two Kits, Kit. Yes, weird. Double Kit, double Kit. Um, uh, there must be Ivan, he doesn't get to see her very often as a human. Most of the time she is frog. It's only these very special occasions that she'll turn into a human. But this time he doesn't go to sleep properly. He waits until she goes off. He's not really interested in what she's doing, I guess. But he sneaks down to the kitchen. He picks up the frog skin and he shoves it on the fire. Now, I think this is because our hero Ivan has heard the story of Hans my Hedgehog, of course, because for Hans my Hedgehog, this works, doesn't it? You take the animal skin, you throw it on the fire, it causes a lot of pain in the short term, and his wife may end up quite black from all the soot, but essentially, it's going to, make her into a human. That's how Hans my Hedgehog works. Everyone knows this, if you know the story. But the same thing does not happen here. Vas, she comes home later and she realizes what's happened to her frog skin and she breaks down into tears. Oh. F-15 Eagle asks a question. If you lose the bread competition, does the Tsar keep the bread? The Tsar keeps the bread whatever. If you win, if you lose, it's the Tsar that gets to eat the bread. I'm definite about that one. Yeah. Kit is happy that there are two Kits in the world. There's a whole load of Kits. This is good. Now, Rowan thinks that he might have killed her, but no, he didn't kill her. She comes in and she's incredibly sad and she cries and he runs downstairs and he's like, "What's wrong, my beautiful wife?" And she's like, "Why did you burn my frog skin, you idiot?" And then she tells him that she was cursed by an evil wizard. Well, on behalf of her father. Her father was not happy with her, you see. He cursed her. He said that she had to be a frog for 3 years. And only if she had been a frog for 3 years and found true love would she ever be able to take the frog skin off and come back to normal. And she looks at her husband, Ivan, and she says, "Ivan, 3 years are about to be up in just 2 days' time. If you'd waited just 2 days, I would never have been a frog again. But unfortunately, now my frog skin is gone. I too must depart." And she clicks her fingers, she turns into a swan, and she flies out of the window. I don't know if that's a swan noise, but whatever. Yeah, she's saying goodbye. Now, poor Ivan. No! There's a lot of no's in the chat. Poor Ivan has lost his wife, and he feels rather foolish. Maybe he should have talked to her about the whole frog skin thing instead of just setting it on fire, but, you know, whatever. He doesn't ever want to leave her, though. He doesn't want his wife to go away. He doesn't know where she's gone, but he's going to go and look and find her. So he takes his bow and arrow. He takes a backpack full of rations or whatever. He puts on his best boots and he leaves the house to go on a long quest to find his missing wife, his frog swan wife, if you like. Now, as you can imagine, and I assume some of you know this, but Russia is a really big country. It's the biggest country, and it's mainly full of trees. This is where our hero Ivan has to go and try and find the frog Tsarevna. He has to go all the way through the forest, from tree to tree, trying to find her, with no real clue about which direction to go in. And he spends a lot of time doing this. He asks everyone he meets, do you know where there is a princess who's been cursed by her father? Do you know where she lives? Have you heard any stories about that? And of course, most people haven't. F-15 Eagle asks, where is Ivan living? So Ivan and our frog princess were living in a nice, probably like a manor is a good way of putting it, yes. Not quite a castle, that's where the Tsar is, but a very posh house, yes. But now, of course, he's essentially homeless because he's just wandering around, sleeping under the stars or in a tree, or, you know, it's a hard time for him. But he will not give up. The harder it gets, the more he tries because, well, he just wants to find his wife again. Ah! Nobody he speaks to has any idea what he's talking about. I mean, imagine it. You're walking through the forest, up comes some kind of beardy prince, and he's shouting at you about a wife that turned into a swan, but used to be a frog, and you can imagine most people aren't taking him too seriously. Until he comes to an old man, just there in the forest somewhere. This old man is wandering along. And he sees Ivan, and he notices that Ivan looks tired and worn out and lost, to be honest. And the old man goes over to him. Hello, Ivan. I see you are very sad. What has made you sad, young man? And Ivan says, well, I lost my wife. I mean, she was a frog, but then she wasn't a frog. Now she's a swan. Tell me, why did your wife leave you? Oh, because I burnt her frog skin. I didn't think it would hurt her, but it did. I took her frog skin and I burnt it. Oh, well, that is a very stupid thing to do. You are a daft boy. Everybody knows if you find magic frog girl, you do not burn frog skin. This is a serious crime in Russia, apparently. Now, the old man, he sees how sad Ivan is, and he says, okay, I will help you, because I am a magical old man that lives in forest, and this is kind of what I do. Here, take this magic bouncy ball. And he gives Ivan a magical bouncy ball. Ooh. Now, the magic bouncy ball will take Ivan wherever he needs to go. All he needs to do is tell the ball where he wants to go, in this case to his wife's house, and the ball will roll along magically before him, and he'll just follow it along, following along the ball until he gets to where he needs to be. I mean, that's a magic bouncy ball for you. So Ivan says, thank you very much. This is amazing. Thank you, old man. I will see you later. I'm just going to follow this ball. And sure enough, he whispers to the ball, take me to the Tsarevna. And the ball starts to roll and bounce away, nice and slowly, not too fast. And Ivan follows it deeper into the forest. Fingersnail asks, can he have a bouncy ball, a magic bouncy ball? And if you can find one, I think it's a good idea. Now, on his adventures, because he's got the magic bouncy ball, he knows where to go, but this is not a fast process. As he's following this ball, he makes some new friends. First up, he's passing through an old dark part of the forest, and he hears the growling of a bear. Now, the bear looks big and strong, but Ivan has got his bow and arrow, and he pulls out his arrow. He pulls out his bow. He knocks an arrow to it, and he holds it there, pointing straight at the bear. Now the bear looks at the arrow, and he looks at Ivan, and he thinks Ivan looks a bit too confident. And the bear says, "Do not shoot me, Ivan. Instead, if you spare my life, I may be of some use to you." And so Ivan says, "Okay, I won't shoot you. Maybe you will be some use to me. Who knows?" And he goes on his way. Now, next, up in the sky, he hears a quacking. He looks up into the sky. There's a nice, beautiful duck flying around up there. And he pulls back his bow, and he's just about to shoot the duck when the duck shouts down, "No, don't kill me. I could be friendly to you. Have mercy on me, Ivan." I don't know if that's a duck noise now. And Ivan says, okay, I won't shoot you this time. Maybe you can help. I've got some questions here. How can these animals talk? I don't know. They're talking animals, Russian talking animals. He's following a bouncy ball. I mean, I don't know. Just go with it. And how do they know Ivan's name? I don't know how they know Ivan's name. That must be some kind of magic going on. Now, Ivan, he walks further on, and he goes into a big, wide field, and there in the field is a beautiful, ripe hare, just there with his ears right up, like hares do. And Ivan, he pulls back his bow. He's going to catch this one. He's going to eat a hare, because he's probably quite hungry by this point. And the hare looks up. "No, Ivan, don't shoot me. If you don't shoot me, I might be your friend in the future." And again, Ivan thinks, this is weird. Lots of talking animals. They all seem to know my name, and they're all asking me the same thing. But sure, I didn't kill the other two. I won't kill you, rabbit. Hare, I mean. And off the hare bounces. Now, at last, Ivan ends up near the water. And there in the water is a great big pike. This really long, really fat, really sharp-toothed pike. And Ivan looks down into the water. He gets his bow and arrow. You know how it goes. He pulls his arrow back. He's about to shoot the pike when the pike pops its head out of the water and says, "No, don't shoot me. I could be useful to you in the future. We could be friends." And Ivan decides that, okay, yeah, I'm sure we'll be friends, Pyko. And he doesn't kill him. So now he has 4 animal friends, which is important for later in the story, but now I'm going through it. It's a bit of a weird way to make friends, He essentially was about to kill all these 4 creatures, and then they asked him nicely not to, and so he didn't. I mean, it's one way to make friends, isn't it? Now, the bouncy ball keeps on rolling. I mean, it's rolling all this while. How old is Ivan? In this story, he must be in his late 20s by now, I guess, or his mid-20s. Tsar, as the sons of Tsars, they have to choose wives pretty quick. Now, the ball keeps rolling, and Ivan keeps on following that ball. But the ball isn't actually taking him directly to the Tsarevna at all. The ball is taking him to somewhere far more spooky. Ooh. Vasilissa asks, are the animals Vasilissa herself in disguise? They are not, but they are useful in the story later. It takes him to a bizarre little cottage, a cottage that's not much bigger than your average shed, that has, well, the legs of a chicken, a house with chicken legs. Now, if you know your Russian folklore, these things are quite common in Russia. I mean, everyone has a house with chicken legs. There's a good book. F-15 Eagle has a book called The House with Chicken Legs. That's good. So that must be about our Yagas here. Because as everyone in Russia knows, if you find a house with chicken legs, that is the house of a Yaga. A Yaga is like a witch. And these houses, they can move around. But whenever they settle down, they put up a fence of human skull and bones. And inside these little houses with chicken legs, there live the Yagas, the eaters of children, the evil ones, the shepherds of the dead, you might call them. Although, a lot of the Yagas are actually quite nice. They do some creepy stuff, but often Yagas in stories can be useful. And in this case, he has come to the home of, Baba Yaga, the most famous of the Yagas, the old lady herself. And the house is sat down, as it usually does for security, with its door up against a great big pillar or a tree trunk. And Ivan says to the house, house, turn about, house, so I can come in. And very dutifully, the house stands up, shuffles around on its chicken legs, sits back down again, so now that the tree stump is, or the tree trunk is not in front of the door, and Ivan can go and knock. And of course, Baba Yaga is inside. Hello? How are you? That's the sound of a Yaga, maybe. Have you come for me to eat you? I can eat you. No, says Ivan, I have not come for you to eat me. I have come searching for answers. My beautiful wife, who used to be a frog, but is now a swan. I miss her very dearly, and, well, my magical bouncy ball led me to you, so I imagine you can help me, Baba Yaga. And the Yaga, she takes pity on him, and she tells him that, well, it's not entirely good news, I must say. Here we are. Because his wife has been stolen by the evil, infamous Koshchei Besmertny. I don't know how to say it. This guy, he's an evil wizard, a really evil wizard. We're talking walking, talking skeletons. We're talking purple lightning. We're talking evil mustache. He's just, call him Kosh. Okay, that's a good idea. Now, Kosh has stolen Vas. He has stolen her. He has taken her to his evil fortress of darkness, where she is his prisoner. And as everyone knows, or at least as Baba Yaga tells Ivan, there's only one way to kill this evil necromancer, this evil wizard. And that is to stab him with a very specific magic pin. But that magic pin, unfortunately, is very well hidden inside a chest, inside a tree. I mean, yeah. He's never going to get there, basically, is what she's saying. You can go and try and defeat the evil necromancer wizard, but F-15 Raptor has pointed out that, oh no, this either means that he's going to die very quickly, or I've just told the stories too slowly. He is going to die pretty quickly, but, you'll see. They usually fit in all right. So, Ivan, he's not going to give up. He's been traveling around Russia for months now, if not years. We're not entirely sure how long. He's, been following bouncy balls. He's met Yagas and talking animals. And to be honest, he's not going to give up. He's committed too much now. He wants his frog wife back. So he asks Baba Yaga, where is the castle of this evil wizard Kosh? And she says, and just over there, sort of round the corner a bit, behind that tree. Yeah. And he realizes he's not far away. So he takes his trusty bow and arrow. He makes sure that he's, had a good wash. A good thing about Yagas is they always give you a bath, no matter how stinky and smelly you are, you can get nice and rested up with a Yaga. So if you ever do find a house with chicken legs, then it's not a bad idea, especially if you're tired and dirty. There are going to be zombies, we can imagine, Amy. Yes, I imagine this king of the undead probably has, all kinds of horrible ghosties and ghoulies and zombies and skeletons at his beck and call, and it's gonna be a hard fight. And Ivan, he gets to the lair, the castle of Kosh, and he's standing there, and he starts looking around. He's trying to be nice and quiet. He doesn't want to give the game away that he's there, but he's kind of snooping about. And he notices that there's this great big tree, and that, at the top of the tree, it looks like there's some kind of chest. Maybe, just maybe, if he can get into that chest, that will be where the pin is that will kill the evil Kush. He is a bit like Sauron Grace. Yes, ring wraiths. He's probably got a ring wraith or two. Oh, yes, Amelia and Benjamin. Evil crows. I can see that. And orcs. Why not an orc and a goblin? Chuck them in. I mean, this dude's evil. He's not the kind of guy who is going to, if someone does come to him and say, "Excuse me, sir, but would you like an evil crow and a goblin?" He's going to say yes. He's that kind of evil king. He's going to have a big collection of these evil creatures for sure. Um, maybe an evil dragon called Smaug as well. But when Ivan sees the tree, he quietly checks that no one's looking, and it seems like no one's looking. There's no goblins or evil ghosties there at this point. He runs up to the tree and he starts trying to climb it, but he can't because, wow, there are bees all over the place. There's this huge beehive up in the tree, and every time Ivan gets close to it, he gets stung. Nip, 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 sting, sting, sting. Oh no, what am I going to do? He sits down in despair, a good distance away from the tree, and then he hears a rumbling in the distance. Boom, 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 boom. And there's the bear, his bear friend. You remember his bear friend. His bear friend rushes out of the forest and jumps on the tree. He puts his paws in, he gobbles up all the honey, the bees run away, and he pulls the tree down, and the chest falls to the ground. Oh, wow. Now, as the chest falls to the ground, out jumps a duck. I don't know why, but it was in the chest. The duck starts to fly up into the sky. It's going to fly away. But then, in from the east comes our friend Duck, the duck that we met and we grew to love earlier in the story. That duck, it comes in and dive bombs the first duck. Until the duck that had come out of the chest explodes. Now, the story's about to get weirder, because out of the duck there falls a hare. Zoomf, falls down to the ground. The hare looks left and right. Hoo, 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 and he makes a run for it. Dum, 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 dum. Stop that hare, screams Ivan, because he knows that somewhere in the hare is the magic pin. I know there's a lot of question marks in the chat. Just go with it, because out from the west zoom, comes our friend Hare. Ooh, you remember the hare that he didn't kill? Now he's his friend. He comes up, and there's a great big hare scrap. They're boxing, they're jabbing, they're jamming, and eventually our friend Hare punches the hare from inside the duck so hard that the hare explodes, leaving just an egg on the floor. What? Ivan thinks, the magic pin must be in the egg. This is brilliant. But then he watches, almost as in slow motion, as the egg rolls down a little hill and plops into the water. Ivan starts running after it. It's fallen into a little stream which leads straight out to sea, but just when the egg disappears under the water and is lost from sight completely, the fish appears, the pike. That's it, Bellatrix Lestrange. The fish has the egg in his mouth. Hello, friend Ivan. I bring you egg, a weird magical egg from inside hare and duck and chest in magical tree. Ha! I wonder what is in egg. And so Ivan, he takes the egg, he cracks it like a top French chef making an omelette, and he pulls out a magical pin. Oh yeah, magical pin, magical pin. Now, a bit of a warning here. I should have mentioned this sooner. A couple of animals were harmed in the making of this escape, notably the duck that was ripped apart and the hare that was ripped apart, but other than that, we're fine. Now, Ivan, he rushes into the castle. He rushes up to the evil necromancer, the evil wizard. And the evil wizard is probably doing something evil. He's probably, I don't know, he's probably eating chips with gravy or something evil like that. And as Ivan rushes in, he laughs at Ivan. I have your wife. I am an unkillable undead beastie man. Oh yes, Rowan. Yeah, he's probably squeezing her nose. That's the kind of thing that evil wizards do. Yeah. Yeah. And so Ivan, he says, stop and give me back my wife. But Kosh says, no, I will not. I am enjoying squeezing her nose too much. Oh, so evil. But Ivan, he rushes up to him And Kosh says, "Do your worst. No one can kill me. I am unkillable." And then Ivan stabs him right in the face with a magic pin. And I like to imagine at this point that it's kind of like popping a balloon, you know? I imagine the evil necromancer, he kind of sucks in on himself like a balloon that's just been popped and limply lies on the floor, just like a weird sack of evil wizard skin. I don't know. I like the idea of him just kind of fading away, maybe. Maybe that's nicer. Um, Now, the princess is free. Ivan is free. The kingdom is free. Everyone is happy. Oh, how old is my enemy Kosh? Kosh is very old. Thousands of years, maybe. He's been in this area for a very long time. But now he is dead. And our princess, she no longer has to dress as a frog. And our prince, he no longer has to be married to a frog. And you guessed it, people. They live happily ever after. The end. Yeah. Hopefully you like that one today. Bit of a strange one. They're all a bit strange though, aren't they? All right. I'll see you all next time. Have a wonderful week. And yeah, see you very soon. Bye. And bye.